Hello, thank you for listening to my thought for the day. I was remembering how I was watching the proms with my mum and dad-in-law, and a lady walked on and she was wearing this dress. I mean, this dress. And I said to my mum-in-law, I said, "What do you think of that, Stella?" And she said, "I think it looks like the wrapping that you get on your Christmas pudding," which perfectly describes to you the colour of this dress and the sort of wrapping around this woman. And I've never forgotten, just because I found it hilarious at the time. But questions sometimes go unanswered, don't they? At the moment, many of us, I think, have got questions which we may be posing to God, and we don't feel we've got the answers that really do satisfy. Right now, your list of questions may be growing. Maybe, Lord, why have we got this pandemic? Why have you allowed this to happen? I found my biggest question is, God, how on earth do I pray about this? It just seems so big. One of the main questions I hear, and I have done for years, is why does God allow suffering? For all the questions that have gone unanswered, I think God has one question in reply. The question is, will you worship and follow me anyway? Will you put your trust in me, regardless of whether I have the answer for you right now? You see, when my daughter was little, she might ask questions that I just didn't think she was ready. She wasn't ready for the answers. I protected her because her understanding and her level of maturity just couldn't handle the answers at that time. And I know that you must have experienced this either as a child yourself, or if you have children, or if you work with them. In the Bible, in 1 John 1, verse 12 to 13, it says, "All who have believed in him and accepted him, he gives the right to become children of God." Now, this verse says that if you believe and accept Jesus, then you've got the right to be a child of God. So the clue to the answer to all your questions is right here in this verse. If you choose to believe and accept Jesus and become that child of God, that means ultimately he is your parent. He is the wiser and he is the wisest. He will only pass down answers to you that he thinks that you can handle right now. And sometimes, just sometimes, it will hold an answer back to protect you, just as we protect children who ask questions from the answers that they don't actually need yet. Are you willing to lay down unanswered questions and trust God anyway? Are you willing to say that God is still God despite you not knowing everything? This takes a humble heart. It takes humility, a heart that is willing to say, it's okay that I don't know everything. Even if you get to 100 years old, you will never be as old and as wise as God. So, will you worship God despite of and through all of this not knowing? I've found that by worshipping, that is where I actually get my answers. They may not be the answers to the questions that I asked, but they are better answers to better questions that God wants me to have the answers to. As I lay down my unanswered questions, he brings along much more fulfilling revelations that are good for me now. Friends, I think some of us listening to this really need to let go of unanswered questions in order to grasp better truths that God wants us to know. We can get too hung up on them, like children who don't stop asking and asking the same thing over and over and over again. God says, will you worship me and follow me anyway? Will you put your trust in me ultimately, regardless of whether I have the answers for you right now? I'm going to add to this recording a challenging but simple song for you to listen to as you decide if you will let go of your unanswered questions and if you will just worship him. If you're watching on YouTube, I will put the link in the descriptions box.